and I hope now all of you are able to see. In the last class, we discussed certain other aspects of discourse, but before that, just there is a quick recap what we already discussed. We discussed discourse, its definition, and its etymology. We have understood that discourse is both oral communication as well as written communication. Meaningfulness is associated with discourse. We have discussed that certain linguists they have made a distinction between text and discourse, whereas discourse is associated with spoken communication and text is associated with written communication. While defining discourse, we have seen that discourse is also used as a verb, and the meaning is ability to reason. And we have seen there is a phrasal verb use of discourse, and again, it is associated with speaking or writing formally or to hold a discussion. We have seen the view of Geoffrey Leach and Michael Short, where they have made a distinction between text and discourse, though both of them are linguistic communication, but discourse is associated with interactive process where text is associated with one-way process, and particularly text is associated with the written process. In Michael Stubbs, we have seen a rather clear distinction between text and discourse, and again, text is associated with written and discourse is associated with spoken. David Kistel further makes a distinction between discourse analysis and text analysis. In discourse analysis, we analyze spoken language, whereas in text analysis, we analyze written language. In Benveniste, we have seen that discourse and the language system, they are in contrast with each other, and how they are in contrast with each other. When we consider the language system as a system of signs, that is not actually discourse, but discourse is actually an instrument of communication. So a unit larger than a word, and we can take sentence, and a larger unit than a sentence can be the part of discourse according to Benveniste. We have seen how discourse is different from history and story. In history and in story, we have past tense. Otherwise, when it comes to discourse, generally we deal with the present frame of reference that we keep into consideration. Then in Roger Fowler, we have seen how discourse is associated with ideology. And when we talk about ideology, then it includes beliefs, values, and certain categories that they are. Then we have seen that how Foucault comments that how it is difficult to define the meaning of discourse, because general domain of all statements is also discourse, individualizable group of statements is also discourse, and regulated practice that accounts for a number of statements, that is also discourse. So meaningfulness, to ascertain the meaningfulness of discourse is quite difficult according to Foucault. And we have seen the views of Mikhail Bakhtin, MacDonald, and Bakhtin. They associate discourse with democratic setup, with a dialogue, with interaction, and it's a social practice. And in MacDonald, we have also seen that something that is meaningful, that has a force, and that has an effect within a social context is basically a discourse. In Pichu, we have seen that the institutional nature of discourse. Now, when we take the institutional nature of discourse, then we are taking into consideration one standpoint. We take one standpoint whosoever is making or participating in discourse making process, that person, that institution has some standpoint, and through that standpoint we can analyze that particular discourse. So standpoint is that type of platform. You can understand that if you are standing on that standpoint, then the other things, they will become in opposition. So this is a very broad understanding of a standpoint. At the same time, in Pichu, we have seen that discourses, they do not occur in isolation but in dialogue. The same thing said by Bhaktin, and in MacDonald we have seen the example of environmentalism in the feminist discourse, particularly how advertisement or this advertising agencies, how they keep the discursive pressure into consideration while making an advertisement. We have also seen one counter argument when we were discussing issues related to women's health by Shuttle and Red Group, and how they say that things which are negatively represented with reference to female bodies, they should be celebrated, uh, and they should be recognized positively. Now we will proceed further, and now we will try to find out what is the difference between a statement and a sentence and their institutionalization. You need to understand, statement is something that is actualized, and sentence is something that is abstract. There is a sentence: John loves Mary. Now you will all agree that it is a sentence, John loves Mary, because you know that there is no John in your real life, there is no Mary in your real life or in your environment. And when I say John loves Mary, then you understand, okay, this is some sentence and there is some person John, and that particular person loves Mary. So it's not a statement. But how this sentence can become a statement when actually there is some John and there is some Mary in that particular setting. I was discussing the difference that you find between a sentence and a statement, and their institutionalization, how certain things they are institutionalized. I have taken a very basic example, John loves Mary, and how it is a sentence and it is not a statement, the things that we have discussed. In light of what MacDonald said, MacDonald said that if something is to be a discourse, then uh, it must have at least three things: meaning, second is force, and effect. When it comes to meaningfulness, John loves Mary is meaningful, sentence wise as well as statement wise. But when it comes to force, when it comes to effect, then we find that John loves Mary remains a sentence, and it does not become a statement because it lacks force and effect. Because when I say John loves Mary, there is no effect upon you, because you know that there is no real John, there is no real Mary. And this example is an example uh, of, let's say, a grammar class or a linguistics class where I am teaching you subject verb agreement. uh, so there is no reality, there is no effect is actually missing. Now we will take another example from a judicial study, and when a judge says, I sentence you to 3 years imprisonment. Now generally judge, they use uh, these type of statements: I sentence you to 3 years imprisonment. So first we find that sentence, I sentence you. Sentence is generally, we use sentence as a noun, but here sentence is used as a verb. That is the grammatical knowledge that we have. But I sentence you. Now this sentencing is related to punishing. So there is something related to imprisonment that we find in this word sentence here. So there are a number of effects. Now we will study that what type of effects that are associated with this particular statement. I sentence you to 3 years imprisonment. First thing is, when we look at judge, we find that the judge is institutionally sanctioned, and therefore the force of his her pronouncement is to transform the accused into a criminal. Now this is the force. Now this is the force of, like, this force is actually transforming one person forever a criminal. This is one thing. And to enforce a particular sentence on that person. That is, that person is not in the position to say, no, I don't agree with you, to a judge, because judge is institutionally authorized to make such type of statements. I sentence you to 3 years imprisonment. Now this is the thing MacDonald talks about, that a discourse must have meaningfulness, a discourse must have force, a discourse must have an effect. So we find in this statement, I sentence you to 3 years of imprisonment, meaningfulness, because we know what does it mean. As a sentence, what does it mean? We understand clearly that what does it mean if someone is saying this thing. And there is a force of transforming one person, normal person, into a criminal. I don't know normal or abnormal, but transforming a person into a criminal. Similar example I gave you in the last class, that you are sitting in your drawing room in a couch and you say, give me a glass of water. So when you say something, you demand something. So if there is a force, then obviously you will get a glass of water. If there is no force, then your this statement will remain a sentence and it will not convert into a discourse. So when you say, give me a glass of water, it is quite meaningful. But in order to transform this sentence into a statement, there must be some force. That means if you say this thing, then someone is transforming your sentence into a statement and doing accordingly what you said. So this is the same thing. And to enforce, and whether you have that right to demand a glass of water from someone, this is again to enforce a uh, particular sentence to a particular person, whether it is in a form of a request, or whether it is a form of an order, or whether it is a form of an instruction. So this is how a normal sentence can become a statement, or a statement can become a discourse. With this example we have seen. Thus, I sentence you can be regarded both as a statement and as a part of a discourse, since such a statement can only have effect if it is uttered within the context of other utterances, and if it takes place within an institutional setting. So what is that institutional setting? Within a courtroom, by an appointed judge. So this particular statement can become a discourse when there is some context. And what is that particular context? That context is, first, an institutional setting, a proper institutional setting where it is uttered not in isolation but in context to other such statements. So this is how some statement can become a discourse. Now we have seen very categorically how a sentence can become a statement. So sentence is something somewhere written, and statement is something that is an utterance. So that is basically actualized, something that is actualized. How you can make something actualized? You can make something actualized when you actually perform that thing. So performance is very much the part of a statement. But when it comes to sentence, then sentence, they occur in abstraction. There is no reality associated with them. So this is they are not performed. You can find sentences in a text in a grammar book, but they are not actualized. So let's say sentences, there are so many sentences in a novel, but they are not actually performed. So this is a crucial difference that you need to make and that you need to understand between statement, sentence, and discourse. To move further, now uh, we will see how discourse is associated with the question of access. Now, what is this question of access? Accessing the knowledge. So how knowledge plays a significant role in order to perform a discourse, or in order to access a particular discourse. So Pechu is concerned that people who are not privileged within the class system, through lack of access to education, knowledge, and familiarity with information network and capital, are prevented from having easy access to discourses. Now, what is easy access to discourses? Now, how to access a discourse? Let's say government government announces so many scholarships for students, for you even, and other students as well. Now, if you are not aware of on which website I need to access that information, you can never apply for those scholarships. That means you do not have the knowledge to, first of all, the knowledge of such scholarships. That is one thing. Second thing is, once you do not have that particular knowledge, then you cannot download forms. You do not know, even if I download form, then how and where I need to send it, what is the last date, what is the eligibility criteria associated with that. So familiarity with information network is very important. Now, you know, some injustices happening uh, near around you, but you do not know where to inform, uh, where to lodge a complaint against such injustice. So again, what type of thing is this? This is again lack of knowledge that you have. So once you have a lack of knowledge, then you do not have access to particular discourse. So that is again the part of, accessing discourse. And capital, here capital is used in terms of money matters, uh, money matters or resources generally that you have. So if you are illiterate, then you can't assume from an illiterate to be very much aware of what things are going on in and around his her environment. So again, this also matters. So these things like information, the spread of information, and to know information networks, and to have access to let's say capital, all these things, they are related to discourses. For example, the exclusions in operation with regard to who can publish an academic journal in an academic journal. Now, I am taking one example that is related to your your field, because you will also publish in some academic journal, and uh, in the next semester you will also try to publish your dissertation in some academic journal. So again, now I am discussing who are included in that academic sphere and who are excluded in that academic sphere. So if you ask in theory that who can publish in an academic journal, then everyone can publish. Anyone can publish, anyone can submit an article to an academic journal. But participation does not guarantee publication. That is the main thing. So but in the practice, article will only be published if it submits to the formal rules of discourse governing the structures contained within academic papers. So you can submit any paper, you can submit any type of paper, you can submit, but there are certain rules that you need to write 250 words abstract, you need to write 5 keywords, you need to follow some strict methodology. There is some formal language that is to be used while submitting a paper in academic journal. You need to use some specialized vocabulary that is appropriate for such writing and recognized by the journal. So these are certain prerequisites. These are certain prerequisites that are associated with publication. So you can submit, you can submit anything, but that will not transform, that will not have a force, and once that has no force, then there will be zero effect. So all these things, what Diane McDonald says, that you must have meaning and you must have force, you must have an effect, that are very much the part of a discourse. So your paper will become a discourse when these prerequisites that are very much the part of that particular paper. So I stop here, and if you have any doubt related to what we